Okay, thanks for coming today. My name is Mindy Wheeler. I am the Native Plant Conservation Project Leader. The Utah Rare Plant Program is essentially the botanic arm of the Utah Natural Heritage Program. I and all my team actually are employees of Utah State University, but we're housed within the Division of Wildlife Resources. This dual appointment gets kind of confusing for some people, but I think it really, the more we're in it, the more I think it's really quite a good setup. Utah State University has a great sponsored programs office as well as a business office that is really needed to essentially keep me in line for all the grants and agreements that we need to have to keep this program rolling. And being in with the Division of Wildlife Resources, I'm finding that not only do we understand what DWR is doing, but we can insert ourselves within the habitat program and really have some good input on a lot of things that the habitat section is working on. These are the partners that we're working with currently. I'm sure I've missed a few. We're always looking for partners. So this is our current team. There's Blake Wellard, of course. He flits in and out. We'll take him whenever he is able to join us. Benjamin Gibbons, Zach Curry, myself, and Megan McCormick. Bailey Spears on the left there is now rock climbing in Chile. So we now have Liz Hansen. And I was having a tough time boiling down everything to 14 minutes, so I'm going to be talking a little fast and probably be flying through a couple of these slides. Everybody can track me down for questions and details later. But essentially, we have sort of described ourselves as a scrappy team with the different grants and agreements that we do get. I think we really make very good use of the funding that comes. So our biggest selling point essentially is the state rare plant database. We take care of both the front end and the back end. I think everybody has heard about our front end Field Maps app that we can give to anybody. It's got a preloaded data dictionary on it with all the species that you would need preloaded on there. It just really helps us get that data back into our database. So we can do this through organizing ArcGIS online groups. So there's a BLM group, a Forest Service group, a Park Service group, a contractor group. Anyway, so people can see and keep and have their own data, but at the same time, it comes back to us, which is really wonderful instead of having a parking spot in a file folder somewhere. We do, of course, data sharing agreements, and then we have on the back end the observation database with 226,000 observations. Something to note is that we do have about 2,300 records in our alternate scientific name table, meaning, of course, that we're doing our best to try to keep up with the taxonomy. It's a never-ending chore. A couple other things, element occurrence generator, and of course a botany library that has reports in it, ours and other reports. I'm just going to quickly go through the data request page. I think people kind of know about this. Draw in your area of interest. It spits back out at you. What's the species of greatest conservation need according to the state within a 2.5 mile radius. Just to note that still this only includes right now for plants, the federally listed and the conservation agreement species. If you want more than that, you're going to have to contact us and we can get that information for you. When the State Wildlife Action Plan is in place, it will have all of our species of greatest conservation need in there, which should include many of the BLM sensitive and the Forest Service sensitive as well. Just a note that the DWR is working on a brand new data request tool. It's going to be kind of the same thing, but we'll be offering quite a bit more when you get that information back. It should be up by June of 2024, and it'll keep being well. So our other duties, of course, is the rare plant conservation rankings through NatureServe. Me and my team are serving on a whole bunch of committees and subcommittees for the State Wildlife Action Plan. And then, of course, all the plant surveys and the rare plant monitoring that we do, those priorities are set both by us and our partners. So as we meet with our partners over the year, our field season sort of gets set accordingly. Just a couple more things about the Wildlife Action Plan. It's supposed to be done, the whole thing is supposed to be done, I believe, in August of 25. We are supposed to have our final SGCN list this August. We will also include species of greatest information need, so hopefully a lot of those that we don't have a whole lot of information on them won't slip through the cracks. We're also trying to work on climate change impacts, and so we're working with a couple of other heritage programs on the Climate Change Vulnerability Index, and of course there's other threats to be assessed for each species as well in those conservation rankings. So the rare plant surveys and monitoring, just a few that we've been up to last year. We'll hear about the Desolation Canyon stuff from Zach. We did some Physaria tumulosa down in the Grand Staircase. Airpine shale work, some for the BLM and some for us and Forest Service. And then some stuff up in central and northern. And then, of course, there's the central Utah deserts with the Stragulus sabulosus, vehiculus, and islii, Stragulus ampularioides in Holmgreniorum in Washington County, Stragulus montii in on the Wasatch Plateau. Anybody seeing a pattern here? And then we did the 5-year post-delisting monitoring for the Stragulus deseriticus this year, as well as the Stragulus anserinus this past year, which all leads to astragalus madness. It's anyway, these things are kind of driving us nuts. We are finding that we really, no matter how many plots you put out there, these things generally have boom and bust cycles that if you try to just do it with above ground stuff and equations for sampling adequacy, you'll lose. So we are following in the footsteps of Susan Meyer and Renee Van Buren in taking into account some other aspects of their life cycle, such as seed viability, length of seed viability, and reproductive output. My cat is trying to get on the keyboard as we speak. But the good news is that some of this astragalus madness has supporters. In May of 2022, the 3 Milkfish Conservation Agreement and Strategy was signed by the partners on the right there. This is an agreement in place until, a conservation agreement in place until 2052. So essentially, it is to minimize negative effects from the things that you can read there. So what it's really done is it has raised the profile of these species to all our partners and the lands that they manage. So we work together on trying to minimize impact or mitigate impact on these species. And it's really nice to see the partners working together on these 3. So just a few of the objectives here: to effectively manage these, implement an adaptive management approach, and then, of course, implement survey monitoring and research programs. And that's, of course, where we and a couple other partners come in, and we have put in a number of monitoring plots for vehiculus and islii. We're still trying to figure out sabulosus, since that one definitely has some boom and bust, and we have not. We've had trouble even finding it the past couple of years with the drought. We're hoping this year is the year after the couple of years of good. For the Kodachrome bladder pod, we spent some time down there. On the right here, this is just a sampling of our common field guide. So most species are in our common field guide now. You can check on those and give us your feedback on that as well. For one of the things that came from the 2021 5-year review by the Fish and Wildlife Service is to compare genetic information, right? There's been some taxonomic issues, I guess, with this plant in terms of, are these plants down south here on the south end of No Man's Mesa and Deer Springs Point, are they the same species as those found south of Kodachrome Basin State Park? So we went out there this past June, and this is the hike up on the north end of No Man's Mesa. They used to put sheep up here, but no longer, so it's a really beautiful spot to sort of see what these plants can do without pressure from ungulates, either native or wild. Really lovely spot. But it also takes you come up on the north end, you have to walk to the south end before you get to the Physaria tumulosa. It's not an easy. So this is me and the team at the beginning of the day. I'm taking the photo, and that's Zach at the end of the day. Anyway, kind of posed, but it was just such a perfect photo. I couldn't resist. So we did compare some lengthy transects or long belt transects from 2016. We redid the ones there in yellow, just laid it right on top and compared numbers from 2016 to 2023. Came out pretty darn close. I thought it was a good comparison. With the long-lived perennial, I felt kind of okay doing a like that. We also did these census grids. So we put a couple of people within each one of these quarter square mile grids, 2 people in there, and tried to count, or did our best to count every single plant in there. And I think going forward, it will be a pretty repeatable effort. 2016 was sort of a different level of effort, different sort of purpose. So to compare numbers. So what we did compare numbers in a different way. I can talk about that later, but these numbers came out to be pretty similar as well. Ask me questions after. The other thing that I wanted to mention is the Pollinator Habitat Program. This is a program I think many of you heard about. It's a program that landed at the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, but they are working with us at Utah State University pretty much to carry it out. And these are awarding live plants, pollinator kits to successful applicants. Have to report for 3 years after they put the plants in the ground. So I do have a couple of these Plants for Pollinators booklets with me today. They are generally at extension offices, so you should be able to pick one up there. We're going to a second printing very soon. We also do have a pretty extensive website that can tell you all about the program, the species that we offer, et cetera. And to note that this year's application program application period is now open. It started on March 1st and goes through April 15th. We pushed it back this year because we needed a little bit more lead time on getting those plants grown out. So with some of the upland species that we offer through that program are available from Great Basin Research Center or commercial growers to get plants. But most of the wetland species, because we offer both wetland and upland kits, we have to collect those on our own. And this is just a grow out. It's, of course, just a plants. This is organization. It's check and recheck and make sure that, this has 5 of those, 3 of those, etc. And then here's the distribution of those kits. Each one of those little collections of plants there is for a successful applicant. And here's just another couple of photos for successful applicants. Really makes people happy to get free plants. And just some follow-up. This is out in Morgan, before and after. This is up in Logan. The place that was planted in a year is in the back there, but just it's a great photo to show what native plants can look. And then this one is out in Tooele. I just quick wanted to mention, and please see me about this. So the Utah legislature gave the Endangered Species Mitigation Fund an extra $2 million one time, so it's only this year. I would love to swamp them with plant projects to show how much there is to do for plants. So please see me. Again, it's only for a year, and these have to be in by March 15th. But please see me if you have any ideas whatsoever for this money. I would love to see them, again, swamped by plant projects. And that is it. Thank you.